Welcome back to EU4. Wait a minute. Today we're taking a look at a certain People's Republic of Smolensk. After my previous People's Republic in EU5, I got the desire to play a different sort of People's Republic. We're here with the mod Entrance to the Desolate Ground, link in the description. At the start, our People's Republic of Smolensk is under a military junta, but I believe there'll be an event not long after we start where the people can take hold. You'll notice the world is pretty different to our usual EU4. Byzantium, what have they done to you? Constantinople is reduced to a single city, the city of the dead. Perhaps Constantinople was once the city of the world's desire, but look at it now, scarred, decayed, and desolate. The wounds inflicted by the Fourth Crusade have yet to fully heal, even to this day. Hatred, anger, and panic permeate this ancient millennial city. A few scattered souls on the streets wander, lost or paralyzed by fear, while the emperor and the nobles, hiding in the palaces, faded glory await the final demise of their decaying empire. Or dying empire. I've heard decaying. But what about us? We're a People's Republic as discussed. We have this unique religion, which is I think we're the only nation that follows it. No, there's 4 in total countries that follow it. Our guy Odiev, Turov, and the old Cossacks in the south, and that's pretty much it. Let's stop looking at the world and get into it. If I recall correctly from what I saw of this nation while playing as other people, there will be a large revolt that is probably intended to win and kill us immediately, almost as if within the first few months of the game. I believe a disaster will trigger, the second uprising. So we kind of need, I think that the army was about 20k, 22k, so we'll need to get around that to maybe survive. I want to avoid handing out too many privileges because I don't really know what's going to happen with this mod. We can see our mission tree, but we can't do anything until we complete the second uprising disaster. And I don't really like looking too far ahead in the mission tree. It feels like cheating, right? I'm fine looking at the things that we can actually achieve at any point, but I don't really want to spoil myself, right? It's part of the fun is seeing what's going to happen when we get to it. So won't do anything too crazy. We'll hand out a minimal amount of privileges just to make sure our states sit at the comfy happiness level that we're all used to. I guess we'll hand out the monopolies as well. It's always nice to have them. Now, what are we going to do? So, as I said, there's going to be around 20k rebels. It might be worth mercenary maxing. We don't have any allies or friends. Everyone hates us because we're the only nation of our religion, obviously. We could ally with the Cossacks. They're currently at war, though. We're involved in a 3-way war, it looks like. The Kievan Russ Civil War. How awful. Let's try to get involved in that. Here's an event about the Kievan Russ Civil War. In 1318, White Horde Khan Tutamesh, with Timur's support, defeated the powerful Emir Mamai, of the Golden Horde and gained control over main territories of the Golden Horde, becoming its great Khan. However, the Golden Horde had endured bloody internal conflict, weakening its control over the western Kievan Russ regions. Ivan I, Prince of Kiev, from the Rurik dynasty, became Golden Horde's agent in Kievan Russ, yet he harbored his own ambitions. By late 14th century, as the Golden Horde declined, Ivan I consolidated his position in Kievan Russ, successfully repelling attacks from the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and even capturing the principalities of Turov and Minsk from the Lithuanians. I'm guessing this timeline, Lithuania didn't do too good. Ivan I died of illness in Kiev in 1440 at age 83. His son, Andrei I, proved incompetent and foolish, as they always do, disrespecting the feudal rights of other princes at Ivan I's funeral and imposing harsh taxation throughout Kievan Russ to curry favour with the Golden Horde. Sparking a civil war that began December 1443. Principality of Galicia, Volhynia, and Zaporizhia, Hetmanate, and Chernigov all declared independence, each claiming the right to become the new Grand Prince of the Kievan Russ, plunging into a chaotic struggle for Kiev. Meanwhile, the Prince of Tunver and the Archbishop Turov and the Archbishop Minsk watched from the sideline, striving to defend against northern Lithuanians without the Grand Prince's protection, who will emerge victorious from the civil war. And then we have our event. The Rurik dynasty was the first dynasty to rule the ancient Rus state of the East Slavs, roughly corresponding to the parts of the present-day European Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. Kievan Rus was established by Varangians from Scandinavia. Its leader named Rurik, hence the name Rurik dynasty. In 882, the capital was established in Kiev, hence also known as Kievan Rus. During the feudal fragmentation period, the Rurik dynasty was split into several branches, and the more prominent being the Moroko-Malkevich family, descendants of Grand Prince Vladimir Moromak, and and the Olgovici family, descendants of Prince Olga Sviatoslav, I'm butchering all these names, of Chernigov. The Vesvoliovich family, ruling northern Rus, belonged to the Vladimir Suzdal branch within the Mormo-Makovovich line. Princes and nobles, prepare your necks. Your peasant grandfathers are coming. This gives us opposed to the Rurik dynasty until the death of our current leader, which gives us morale, manpower, and Republican tradition. Also gives us spirit, prestige, and army tradition, plus a point of Republican tradition, which is kind of useless to us. Now, let's think about it. We've got quite a few mercenaries. I think the rebels are going to be pretender rebels, so they're not going to be the usual rebels we can just like laugh at, and they won't be a problem. Since we do start with a very high mill ruler, I think it might be worth making him a general. He should be able to just win this for us on his own. And we see, how long do we have until the disaster starts? It's ticking up by 6 a month. It says April in 2 years will be the point where it starts. Provided there's no events that push it forward, I assume. Maybe what we'll do is we'll relax a bit until it's actually time for the disaster to trigger. Ooh, here's another event for our nation. This one's quite a long one. The Republic of Smolensk was established in 1407 when the local merchant Viech Council overthrew the tyrannical Rurikid prince and founded a Veitch Republic. However, the Veitch still maintains an oppressive domestic policy, treating the nation's agricultural and handicrafts as their own colony, exploiting the peasants and lower-class artisans to the extreme, ultimately leading to an uprising by shareholders and townspeople. The rebelling peasants and citizens formed an alliance, later known as the United Front. After overthrowing the merchant Veitch, the freeholders and citizens established a government that rejected the nobility and formed a 100-member council. Yet, the nascent Republic of Smolensk failed to completely expel the nobility. Even the Republican Council contains numerous conservative elements. They exercised power on behalf of the peasants, yet possessed vast wealth and held extensive lands. Leveraging their economic strength, the conservatives and remnants of the nobility continuously expanded their political influence and gradually dominated the council. The power of the Republic's consul soon swelled to an overwhelming degree. Representatives willing to speak for the lower classes to the 100-member council became few and far between. The laws provided almost no protection for peasants and lower-class artisans. Instead, they granted more and more privileges to large landowners and wealthy merchants. Tenant farmers who lost their land and could not pay rent were sold in slavery. Lowest-class artisans, injured at work, had to pay substantial compensation to their employer to cover the cost of machinery and lost time. The military government, colluding with wealthy merchants, shielding each other and exchanging favors and jointly oppressing the broad masses of peasants and artisans. The military government maintained a high-pressure internal policy, causing immense suffering amongst the lower classes. Anyone critical of the military government was secretly arrested. Smolensk's peasants sarcastically remarked, "Why is the government angry? We merely stated what they were doing." Yet internally, the military government was weak and inefficient. In 1433, the Republic lost half its territory in a war against the Prince of Chernigov, and the most proactive action the government took during the war was to suppress traitors within the country who discussed the government's strategic failures. In 1440, Yuri Rostolovich became the Republic's consul and further tightened the exploitation of the lower masses. He decreed that peasants whose land was requisitioned must pay administrative fees to the government, and citizens conscripted in the army must pay management fees to the military. The Rurikid peasants lacking such imagination, but during Yuri's tenure, he managed to have his cake and eat it too, selling large numbers of peasants into slavery, while also demanding they pay a freedom tax. Although the military government's oppressive rule cast a terrible shadow over the Republic, seemingly suppressing all discontent, everyone understood that a storm was brewing. Why not die quietly of starvation instead of imitating the mantis and raising its arms? We gain 10,000 manpower and the tense times modifier, which increases the cost of increasing stability by 100%. Makes so we can't really declare war, losing 3 stability. We lose 2 yearly Republican tradition, but our land force limit increases by 20%, recruitment time decreases by 25%, and regiment cost decreases by 25%. So this is probably the point where we're supposed to massively expand our military. Maybe we shouldn't be using mercenaries. Let me actually wait a month to see if our mercenaries become bigger. No, I was kind of hoping they would expand their size. I can't quite remember what the rule is for them expanding their size. It's probably based on how much land we control. So maybe instead of hiring mercenaries, we should just peasant up. It's going to put us a little into debt. But I mean, we're very small right now. Debt is a problem that will probably solve itself. Let's just go all the way up to a large-scale military. One other thing that's of note about... Ooh, I didn't know this was a thing. The Oka Bogolamites, after their uprising, successfully defeated the armies of Ryazan princes. They sent a representative to Smolensk, hoping to become an autonomous region under their rule. I guess we gained an ally, or a vassal. That's nice. They don't have a mission tree, though, so they're just somebody. One thing we can do is we can actually change our vassals to have their color match our nation. I prefer to have people have their own color, so we'll leave them with their own color for now. Another thing that's unique about this sort of area of the map is that nearly every location has the lands that can belong to nobles, which reduce the manpower gain, the productivity of the locations, while also increasing the minimum local autonomy and increasing autonomy gain. They do reduce the total creation cost. We can remove this modifier by spending admin. It does upset the clergy, and it does increase unrest in the location for a few years, but we're going to start removing them as fast as possible. There's no reason for us to tolerate the nobles, after all. We've got our 20,000 guys online. I keep trying to press the balance button as if I was playing EU5, but we're not. Hopefully I didn't overcompensate by recruiting this many. I know we're experiencing tradition, but the revolt is about 2 months away. So we're just going to hang around a little bit on our capital. I want to destroy the revolt the moment it happens. And maybe downsize or start expanding. All right, here we go. The second uprising. The peasants of Smolensk, the year 1446, was a critical period. Oppressed and impoverished, they were filled with indignation towards the reactionary military government. The peasant leader, Alexei, became their hope and leader. They believed only through uprising could they change their fate. However, on the eve of the peasant uprising, Alexei suddenly passed away. All peasants in Arzand were plunged into deep mourning, feeling that they had lost their great leader and mentor. At Alexei's funeral, the peasants in Arzand bid farewell to their leader with the most devout prayers. The uprising had to continue. They had to keep fighting for their rights and dignity to keep resisting the military government. The consul continued to brutally suppress the peasants, making their lives even harder. Many peasants were imprisoned for treason. Alexei's death only strengthened their resolve to overthrow the military government. They launched a massive uprising aimed at toppling the regime and re-establishing a just republic. Though Alexei was gone, his spirit and ideals lived on the peasants' hearts. Anton took up the banner of rebellion and led the peasants to continue the fight. They would struggle to achieve their rights and dignity. They knew the uprising was not just for themselves, but for all those who suffered oppression and injustice. They would fight for justice and equality until final victory. So we can choose the bottom option, which basically stops us experiencing any of Smolensk's special content. I assume that means we'll lose our mission tree and just become a generic creation nation. We can pick the arrow is notched, a single spark will set the prairie ablaze, which will save us changes to the citizens' army government. It looks like we're actually going to lose the nobility. That's one thing of note. I wonder, since we're going to lose the nobility, maybe we should use their buttons. For example, give them the boyar's officer rights and then recruit a general, give them boyar's forced conscription. Are the loyalties too low for us to raise additional levies? That's too bad. I guess we've done all we can do. Are we going to lose anyone else? We're going to get a parliament. We're going to enable both the bureaucrats and peasant estates. I guess we'll see. Let's do it. The arrow is notched. A single spark will set the prairie ablaze. Yeah, 20 pretender rebels are going to spawn in Smolensk itself. There's something I forgot. Since we changed our ruler to a new ruler, he immediately lost his position. And so we lost the battle because we didn't have a general. We can now start with our mission tree now, though. We can start our first event. One program. The program to safeguard national unity and territorial integrity must be thoroughly implemented. We absolutely cannot allow the dictatorial military junta to split our territory. This gives us the event, the Third National State Conference. Allows the adaptation of the state edict, efficient mobilization. And next time we go to war with Chernigov, using the Reconquest Casus Belli, both sides will be unable to call their allies in. We can only do this once. They currently got allies? I guess they do. They control 2 locations that are provinces, careful, that are rightfully ours. So let's see how it goes. We'll take this, we'll do this. What event is this? The representatives of the Smolensk Republic gathered together, convening the Third Congress on a gloomy morning. This was a critical moment determining the future survival of the Republic. The leader of the dictatorial government, General Grand Marshal Yuri, threatened the security of the Republic's capital and proposed a deal. I'm guessing this is supposed to be him here. These are pretender rebels. Take all of the wealth of the elite and establish an independent principality within Smolensk. This caused an uproar within the peasant militias. Representatives arrived from every corner. They were ordinary peasants and artisans, but they knew they had the right to defend their homeland. After the session began, Chairman Anton Petrov delivered a passionate speech that inspired everyone present. He declared they must stand and defend the unity and integrity of this land. Subsequently, every representative voiced their opinion and views. They unanimously agreed that safeguarding the nation's territorial integrity was the responsibility of every citizen. A heavy atmosphere hung over the assembly hall, but the representatives did not retreat. They resolved to take action, defending their government at all costs. After multiple rounds of intense debate and voting, the representatives passed a resolution announcing the establishment of the National Military Administrative Committee, responsible for maintaining national security and territorial integrity, with Anton Petrov serving as chairman, of course. This decision received the support and endorsement of all present. The small nation faced immense challenges, but its people were willing to confront everything. They understood their responsibilities and duties, believing that united, they could overcome all difficulties. This historic decision of the Smolensk People's National Peasant State Congress would forever engraved in people's hearts. It not only demonstrates the strength of the nation's people, but also a beacon of freedom and equality. Use all means to safeguard the national unity, which gives us a modifier which increases our force limit, decreases the cost of our army even further. Before we do anything else, let's look at our unique mechanics that we have for this nation. We've got these 3 bars just to start with. Our top one is our revolutionary tendency. Higher revolutionary tendency grants powerful military capabilities, but other nations will also fear the national government more. We can see this at maximum levels. Stability cost modifier plus 50%, diplomatic reputation minus 2.5, aggressive expansion impact plus 25%, and monthly administrative, diplomatic, and military power all down by 2% at max level. That's pretty bad. Also, clerics and burghers and bureaucrats all hate it. But at the same time, our armies get 25% more manpower morale at the highest level. We also get a minus 5% to all power costs. So I guess what we kind of do is kind of need to balance our revolutionary tendency. It might be nice to get it up a little bit just before we start to lose the admin, mill, and dip powers. We'll need to take into account the aggressive expansion option as well, though. We'll see how it goes. Then we have 2 more bars. We have solidarity tendency and power inclination. Solidarity tendency looks like it decreases the happiness of the bureaucrats, but increases the loyal happiness of the peasants. Whereas power inclination reduces the influence of the bureaucrats and increases the influence of the peasants. I guess we'll probably have to manage that as well. We also gained access to 2 new estates, the peasants and the power elite, which I assume are the bureaucrats. Yeah, the bureaucrats are the operators of the state aperture. Since we've lost access to the nobility, we need to think a little bit more about how we're going to increase the loyalty of these estates. Unless one of these guys has something equivalent to supremacy of the estates. Not seeing anything. I'm seeing a lot of buttons though. It looks like one of the things that the bureaucrats can do is sacrifice revolutionary tendency to pass these reforms, which might be of benefit. There's just so many buttons. I'll have to look at all of it in detail. You can also reduce the state governing cost. We can get an extra monthly admin point. Ooh, idea cost minus 10 is pretty good, but losing 20% of our tax efficiency and gaining an extra yearly corruption, not sure I'm into that. Not sure I'm into any of these bonuses, really. What do the peasants have for us? Looks like the peasants do things that increase the solidarity tendency, but I guess we kind of want to keep our solidarity tendency and our power inclination close to 0. So maybe it's better to hand out things to try and balance it. Ooh, I like this peasant suffrage option. Morale, ideas, advisor costs down, possible advisors, idea costs decrease, goods production modifier. And all it costs us is giving a little monthly power and solidarity inclination. But I think we're going to grab the peasant suffrage right at the start. We can also grab this compulsory military training. The peasants don't like it, but it gives us even more morale and infantry combatability, while decreasing some of our solidarity and losing a bit of production efficiency. Okay, so I think we'll grab that. And then we'll actually grab peasant festivals, which will kind of counteract it by giving us back 10 production efficiency. I think we'll hold off on handing out anything more just for the moment. Let's take a look at our bars. So solidarity is increasing by 0.2 a month. Power inclination is increasing by 0.2 in a month. So let's see if we can hand out some things to the powers elite to keep power where it is. I'm not sure if it's a bad idea to go into the negatives for power inclination and solidarity inclination or whatever. It might actually be very bad to go into the negatives thinking about it. I kind of hate all of these modifiers though. I suppose we could give out this bureaucratic educational privilege because it would just take away the advisor cost and possible advisors that we gained from the peasant suffrage and just bring us back to the default. It would reduce admin tech costs by 10%, but it would only give us minus 0.05 to the increases towards solidarity and inclination. I'm not sure it's that helpful. Whatever, let's not do anything crazy. Let's try and deal with the rebels first, and then we'll think about actually trying to fix or do anything with our nation. We've got our first parliament issue. I think what we're going to grab, we could just grab funded universities for the admin and tech cost reduction. I think we will do that. Picking up early is always the best thing to do. We also have this decision we can make, the People's Assembly. I'll hold off firing it for now. There goes the rebels. Does that end the disaster? Looks like the disaster's already over. There we go, victory in the second uprising. Ooh, we can decide what to do. We can execute all the nobles. The second uprising achieved final victory, recast the reactionary military dictatorship represented by Yuri, and arrested numerous boyars and reactionary wealthy merchants. Officers and representatives loudly demand the execution of all these parasites who preyed on the people. So we can execute them. It'll give us 20 military revolutionary tendency. I'm not sure what our stats will be like after that. It would also give us the purge remnants of the old factions modifier, which gives minus 10 stability cost, yearly absolutionism, which is kind of useless, and autonomy change cooldown of 25%, but only for 5 years. I don't know, we're going to be able to gain absolutionism within the next few years? Maybe there's a reason why it gives that. Maybe that's a hint. Or we can say, after all, they were once our masters. This will give us a stability and decrease solidarity and power inclination. I kind of favor this option because both those things are increasing on their own. And I'm kind of curious what happens if they go into the negatives. So we're going to do this, give us that stability, and then we're going to see what are the negatives. Are there negatives? Looks like they just invert. Yeah, the peasants lose power and happiness while the bureaucrats gain it when we go into the negatives. Okay, we now have the mission to do here, restore order, which gives us another stability and it upgrades the fort in the capital. If we have 250 gold, then it changes the development of the monument Smolensk Castle by 2. What is the Smolensk Castle? This is the Smolensk Castle. I'm not really that bothered. It just gives an extra fort point. I mean, it might be really important, but it doesn't provide any real global benefits of note other than the possible condottieri. And boy, we are not going to have 250 gold. Speaking of which, though, should we attack Chernigov? Oh, actually, we still have tense times. We still have tense times. When does it end? It ends in 4 years. Ooh, actually, if we can complete this mission, we'll lose tense times, and we can immediately attack Chernigov. Let's see. Problem is, tense times increases the cost of stability. I think we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to increase the stability by 1. Then we're going to restore order. We have finally triumphed in the Republic's civil war. Now the peasants have at last reclaimed the state power and become the masters of the nation. That'll give us another stability, pushing us up to 0, and now we can return to the fundamentals. The reactionary dictatorial military junta and its remnants have been purged by us. The military administrative committee we established during the war now holds sole authority. Whether to disband this committee will be a crucial question. I see. This will give us the event, the fate of the committee, gives us stability, removes tense times, and give us down with the reactionaries. The military administrative committee was established during the Republic's most critical hours of survival to mobilize all domestic forces to the greatest extent and resist the reactionary military government represented by Yuri. The committee was granted extensive powers. However, after the regime stabilized, should we abolish this provincial body, the military administrative committee, and restore the People's Assembly its supreme position? Looks like this gives us a second. Oh, okay, so we have some reforms by default. I hadn't noticed this. We have the citizen army government as our default reform. We're currently set to the military administrative committee reform. Allows us to re-elect from the ruling family. Leaders without upkeep -2. Military advisor cost -10%. We can switch to the representative assembly, which we can force re-election. Re-elections for reduce the state influence by 10% and can force re-elections. This gives us 5% morale, 2 extra advisors, yearly administrative tradition, 5 admin cost and a free policy. I kind of prefer that than staying with the military committee. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Nah, I think we're gonna go with the representative council. That does lead to us gaining a more revolutionary tendency, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. Now we're going to attack Chernigov. If this works how I think it does, we'll declare war with a reconquest CB, and any allies they have shouldn't intervene in the war. So we'll declare war. Yes, as we can see, Chernigov has no allies, and we also have no allies, so it's just us versus them. Even our vassal doesn't join. Go for that full-on occupation. They've actually lost control of their capital. Could we just full annex them outside of their capital? We might be able to. Whoever's sieging down their capital has lost control of it. Maybe they piece them out. See if we can grab their capital. All right, there we go. We full occupied Chernigov. I think we're going to full annex them. We'll take any land they have. We'll take some money as well. It will help pay off these many loans we have. Now, should we think about downsizing our military? It's definitely what's giving us the most cost. Before we do anything, let's do this return to the homeland event. This gives us 1 productivity in the Smolensk area and manpower, obviously. Also reduces the devastation in the area. Now the question is, what do we kind of do with this land? A lot of this land have these modifiers that we discussed earlier that reduce the autonomy of the area. Could we release anybody? We could release Chernigov itself, I guess, but I don't really want to do that. We could feed some land to Odiev, but again, I don't really want to do that. It doesn't feel appropriate, right? People's Republic doesn't believe in vassals. It feels a little cheap to just feed all the land to Odiev. And probably isn't what's intended. Let's do this event first of all, and then we'll think about how we're going to manage that. Maybe the event will give us some idea. So, since the dictatorial military junta seized control of the nation, we have lost half our territory in the military struggle against the princes of Kievan Russ. Recovering our lands through military means will be a crucial short-term objective. Well, it's already done, bro. On a cold winter day, Geresimir Moronov was born in a remote village of Smolensk. All the lands of Morov's village belonged to high-ranked officials of the military government, which brutally exploited the local peasants. From a young age, Geresim witnessed the suffering and oppression endured by the peasants. Once, for confronting an official of the military junta, he was hung at the village entrance, severely beaten and left hanging upside down throughout the freezing night, nearly freezing to death by the next morning. Upon reaching adulthood, he joined the local insurgency organization and participated in numerous actions against the military government. As an exceptional fighter, Geresim quickly became one of the leaders within the organization, earning the respect and trust of many. In a particularly dangerous operation, Gerasim led his team into a village controlled by the enemy, successfully rescuing hundreds of detained peasants and defeating the enemy forces. This victory not only boosted the peasants' morale, but also struck fear into the enemy. Under his leadership, more and more peasants joined the resistance. Although they often faced brutal suppression and prosecution from the enemy, they remained steadfast and pressed on until they ultimately achieved victory in the second uprising. Gerasim Mararov became a symbol of the revolution, a hero to the people. His bravery and selfless spirit inspired generation after generation to continue fighting for the nation's freedom and dignity. We can get him as an advisor, a military advisor, with minus 75 cost, or a general. I don't think we really need a general right now. We already have 2. We have our current ruler, who's pretty good, and then we have our general we got from the nobility. He's kind of worse than our ruler general. I think we'll go for, but at the same time, can we afford a advisor? I don't know if we could afford one. I don't think so. Maybe we should not grab one since our economy definitely couldn't sustain one right now, right? I think we'll grab him as a general because it's for the best. We're going to pay off as many loans as we can, and now we're going to start coring the land, obviously, pretty rapidly. We don't really want to waste time. We're also going to start revoking the land from the boyars that exist in the locations. Fortunately, we can only revoke them one at a time, and then we have to wait a little bit till we can revoke another one, but I'm sure it'll be fine. We're going to stop spending money on our military for a little bit, and our castle. We're still going to be in debt, but hopefully we can improve our income. Let's have Odiev start pushing its money towards us, although that'll make them rebellious for a little bit. Maybe let's not do that. Oh, we inherit Odiev. As our control territory now borders Oka, it's time to firmly integrate Oka as part of Smolensk. Beautiful. That was easy. Should we core this land? We don't know what's going to happen with these 2. I mean, they're probably going to end up being our cores, so let's do it. We'll core Oka. We're going to hand out this bureaucratic tenure for life, which decreases state government cost by 20%, but gives minus 25 power inclination to the bureaucrats. That will make them quite happy. Now our power inclination, though, is ticking into the negative. We kind of want to tick it back up, if only by a single point, if we can. We're going to hand out this guarantee yeoman independence, which gives us pretty nice product efficiency and national tax modifiers, while increasing the power inclination and solidarity tendency. It does disable the collectivist farms, though, which you can't have with it. Should we hand out this flexible legislation? It'll reduce stability cost by 20%, but that doesn't really bother me that much. What I kind of like is the re-election cost minus 20%. If we can just keep our very skilled rulers in power kind of permanently due to stacking re-election costs, that would be pretty nice, wouldn't it? It does increase unrest and production efficiency, though, and decreases productive efficiency. So we can see here our current re-election cost due to our government is minus 25% to the cost. So if we did this, it'll go up to 45% overall. Sounds quite nice. I'm just wondering whether it's a good idea. I definitely feel like I'm hesitating a little too much on these modifiers, though. I should probably hand some of them out. We're going to hand out bureaucratic educational privilege because, as we mentioned earlier, it just counters the effects of another privilege when it comes to advisors' costs. Ooh, but we can't actually have that one with this bureaucrat special provision, which it reduces idea cost by 10%. That's too bad. I kind of want to have them both. Oh well. We've managed to ensure that power inclination is no longer going to increase. Solidarity tendency is still increasing, though, which is going to upset the bureaucrats when it gets to a certain level. I suppose it will probably be fine. Let's just focus on looking inward for the moment. There is no doubt that the leader is the supreme authority of the Republic. If the Republic prospers, the leader is naturally respected, but if the Republic shows signs of decline, then the leader will naturally be questioned as to whether their virtue matches their position. Due to the current state of the Republic's blockade, people are casting suspicious eyes upon the leader. Supporters claim without the leader's guidance, we would remain controlled by the rhetoric of military dictators, even willingly accepting servitude. Thus it is the leader who propels history forward, and the leader naturally precedes the people. Opponents argue that while historians should rightfully give the leader due credit, without the power of the people, even the best leader would be inefficient, and therefore the people precede the leader. So I guess we just have to pick. Are the people... Ooh, wait a minute. If we pick leader supremacy, it'll give us access to the 6th reform. It'll put us at authoritarianism, which increases corruption, increases monthly autonomy change, it decreases the cost of harsh treatment, allows us to revoke privileges from estates regardless of loyalty and influence, and changes national focus cooldown by 5. It also pushes us towards minus revolutionary tendency, minus solidarity, and minus power inclination. And because it's giving us access to the 6th one, we'll immediately be able to pick options for these other ones as well. I think we're going to stay with the people. I don't know if choosing more authoritarian options leads to a different route, but we're going to stay with the people for now. We've got access to our first church aspect. Our religion is pretty much the same as Hussitism. It's even using the symbols. What do we want to grab? If we abolished baptisms, we would gain access to more church power faster. So that might be the obvious thing to do. Get more church power faster so that we can pick our next options faster. But to be honest, we were gaining church power at quite a high rate, 2.6 a month. I'm not really that bothered. I'm leaning towards either Satan as a creator. Wait a minute. Bogomils believe the world was created by Satan. However, they also hold that Satan is the eldest son of God, the Father representing evil. The Father sent his second son, Jesus, to depose Satan and save humanity. I guess they're a form of a Gnostic religion then, in that sense. Either way. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Satan as creator, abolish, or maybe impoverishing the clerics would reduce the influence of the clergy by 10%. But they don't really have that much influence already. Don't we need their influence to go below a certain point for an... Yes, actually, we need, in order for this one, we need to either get their loyalty up to 50%, which honestly, no, it's actually not tending towards 50%, is it? It's tending towards 20. So it might be worth grabbing that in preparation for that mission. We need to gain an extra stability for this mission anyway, though, so we'll need to think about that. Oh well, let's grab this impoverished clerics just because I think we need it for a mission. We're starting to actually make a little bit of money now. Speaking of which, let's set our diplomats to start placating the outraged countries. I imagine we're going to be surrounded by hostile nations pretty quickly. Although these guys want to ally with us, but they're involved in this civil war. I'm not sure if we're meant to intervene. I assume not. I guess we could ally with them. We allied with them and they immediately lost all their land. Let's do this event. The peasant regime convenes an emergency popular something. Assembly, I think. Doesn't really seem... It just seems to be a way for us to balance the bars, it looks like. We can push them down or push them up. We're quite high up on the revolutionary tendency, so maybe let's push it down a little. Push it down closer to the center. Centrism and all that. The 2 demands. After ending the civil war and establishing the government, developing production and achieving common prosperity, have become the mainstream demands of the domestic populace. We must restore our economy. I also agree. This gave us access to a bunch of new government state edicts. Efficient taxation, which increases taxation by 50%. And we're just going to immediately throw that one down in our capital. Money, please. Ready. Smolensk is undoubtedly an agricultural-based society, where agricultural production plays a vital role in social economic development. Turmoil caused by the old nobility during the Second Uprising resulted in significant damage to production. The fertile fields were trampled by rebel armies, and many farming households became homeless refugees. Restoring the economy has become an imperative for the Republic's continued progress. To promote economic recovery, representatives convened the Fifth National State Conference in 1449. Furthermore, the conference emphasized not only the need to restore the economy and develop production, but also stresses the crucial importance of ensuring shared prosperity for all. They were determined not to let political and economic flow disproportionately to any single class, thereby preventing the fruits of the uprising's victory from being seized once again by the powerful. During the conference, peasant Representative Mikhail Tushev delivered a passionate speech. Dear compatriots, respectful fellow countrymen and comrades, it is time that we achieve victory now. This is, of course, it is true that we have achieved victory now, and that is a cause for celebration. But we must never forget that we achieved the identical victory 40 years ago, only to have the fruits of our victory stolen by Yuri and his cronies. After the previous uprising ended, due to our lack of oversight in the resource distribution process, privileged classes represented by Yuri appropriated our social resources. Therefore, through various legal yet cruel means, they seized our lands and stripped us of our power, leading to extreme wealth disparity. They gained control over the majority of the nation's resources through various methods, enjoying high income and superior living conditions, while ordinary people could only earn meager wages through hard labor and toil. Some even struggled to secure basic food and shelter. Although our uprising succeeded the first time, we failed to protect its gains, allowing our nation to be taken over again by cruel elites. Finally, I hope everyone can recognize the root cause of this problem, that we failed to establish an effective system for monitoring power and turn a blind eye to the growing wealth gap. If we are to prevent our hard-earned victory from being stolen again, we must ensure common prosperity and work together to change this. We need to build a just and transparent social system, guaranteeing equal opportunity and rights for everyone. We must dismantle the old privileged class structure, enabling all to achieve success through their own efforts, with no one able to monopolize social resources through unjust means. Only then can our society become just, equal, and free, bring a better life and future for all. Mikhail's speech was met with thunderous applause. Undoubtedly, this conference will become a significant milestone in Smolensk's history. However, whether the conference's resolutions can genuinely be implemented and its spirit faithfully carried out forward still remains uncertain. So we can pick between two different modifiers, it looks like. One that gives develop a production achieve common prosperity for around 25 years. Construction cost minus 10, development cost minus 10, production efficiency plus 10, national tax income plus 10, and innovation gain plus 50%. Will also give pushing us towards revolutionary tendencies. Or we can say some must get rich first. Does this provide the same? Yeah, it does provide the same modifier. And it gives us some money and pushes down our reactionary tendencies and other tendencies. I'm kind of leaning towards the some get rich first just because it's the same modifier and we kind of don't want our revolutionary tendencies to get too high. It's already high enough that we're losing 1 mana point a month in each category, so we're gonna pick this one. I don't know if there's some hidden thing in the game that's checking which ones I press and is going to punish me at some point. But I suppose we'll see, right? Next mission, liberating our compatriots, is our duty and mission, but some domestic factions do not recognize this. Therefore, we need to convene a meeting to reach a consensus. The Bryansk conference convened in 1449. Some delegates argued that it was optimal time to expand the People's Revolution. They pointed out the chaos in the Rus lands intensifying. The exploitation of oppressed peasants and artisans by feudal lords were worsening. Heavy taxes and policies that deprived the peasants of their land made their lives increasingly difficult. Those oppressed masses would support the Republic's revolution and join our cause. Conversely, failure to act would allow the plight of our peasant compatriots to deteriorate further. Other delegates had a more conservative stance. They emphasized that the current situation was perilous. Expanding the people's revolution, the peasants' revolution even, could lead to more violence and bloodshed. More importantly, the peasants' strength was still frail, while the Grand Prince of Moscow was at a peak of his power. They argued we could not confront all feudal lords simultaneously. We can say things should be done step by step, which makes our states a little happier but reduces all our tendencies. We can say expand the revolution, which gives us liberate compatriots till the end of the game, apparently. I'll be curious to see if that modifier does go away at some point. And gives us permanent claims on pretty much all of the Russ lands I suppose we need. So we're going to expand the revolution. So there's all our claims. Unfortunately, we'd already taken all this land that it gave us claims for, but I guess, that's just how it goes sometimes. I'm going to save up a bit once my corruption drops down to 0, a random event where it increased. I think we're going to stab up so we can start doing the 2 missions we have on the sides here. This will increase the monument in the Heroes Square. What is that? Oh, this one. This one's pretty nice. Increases the national manpower modifier by 10% and gives our army tradition of 0.5%. Oh god, we're being attacked by Usbek. Uzbek's one of the kind of doomsday nations in this mod. They're very, very strong. I'm not sure if we can fight them, actually. We might be dead. Let's try and kind of hide. They are mainly a cavalry nation because they're a steppe horde. What would it take to piece them out? Probably us winning a lot of battles. We do have rebels appearing in our country. Maybe the rebels will help. Makes me regret not getting that extra Smolensk castle upgrades to increase the defensiveness and the attrition in the location. They're beginning to siege. Oh, the Usbek siege ability makes it so they're going to be able to siege very fast and easily. Could we defeat them, do you think? Who's our best general? Really, it's our ruler. There's a second army down here, though. Could we defeat the sieging army before this second army arrives? They're mainly cavalry, this is grasslands. Maybe it's better to go for the other army and try and fight them in the woods. Well, there's actually a third and a fourth and a fifth army. This might be it. People's Revolution cut short so soon. And we're going to risk it all. We're going to attack the horde in the capital. They're moving this other horde up, though. If we can win before they get there, maybe we'll be able to win overall. Let's grab something to make us stronger. Anything. Any sort of buff. We can grab that morale, but morale won't lead us to killing faster. I guess it's all we got. Let's grab that morale. Can we gain a point of stability? We could. We could gain a point of stability and maybe rush down our tree to something that benefits us. Let me actually scroll down into the tree. Is there anything else down here we can grab? No, it doesn't seem so. Unfortunately. We're going to stab up anyway, just so we can see these other events that we can get before we die. We're going to grab this one. This increases the Heroes Monument, as I mentioned, to 2. We have finally triumphed in the Republican Civil War. Now peasants, at last, reclaim state power and become the masters of their own nation. For a little bit, I suppose. The Mongols take it all away. And then we have bridging the divisions. To address the ongoing crisis within our nation, we must unite all the forces that can be united. During months of hardship and torment, the People's Assembly finally convened a secret meeting to resist tyranny of the current military government. This meeting's leader, Anton, declared the support of the townspeople and clergy and condemned the injustices perpetrated by Europe's military government. Subsequently, they discussed how to maximize their strength in resisting the government, proposing that peasants, artisans, clergy, and merchants needed to unite to support each other, not to act independently, in order to defeat the reactionary government. So we have 3 choices. Unite all positive forces that can be united to overthrow the reactions. The cleric estate will side with the reactionaries in the power distribution and class solidarity mechanic. Our revolutionary tendencies will now provide substantial stability boosts. Or we can say, we ask the centrists for help. They'll remain neutral. High religious revolutionary tendency will no longer reduce cleric loyalty. Does it reduce cleric loyalty? Yes, it does, by 25%. And high revolutionary tendency will now provide moderative administrative bonuses. Or we can say, we will win over a portion of the reactionaries. The cleric state will join the revolutionaries in the power distribution and class solidarity mechanics. High revolutionary tendency will no longer reduce cleric state loyalty. Reduces the influence of the power distribution and class solidarity mechanics on peasants, and high revolutionary tendency will now provide moderate administrative bonuses. I cannot see this. I want to see what happens. So it says the clerics will join these things, and it will remove, when it says it will provide administrative bonuses, does it mean he will remove the monthly admin -2? Let's see. No, it looks like it gave us a 25% decrease to state governing costs. Maybe an institution spread, but that might have always been there. And clerics are now there. I don't see the clerics being mentioned in any of these things. It might need a second to update. Or maybe it counts clerics as peasants now? I'm not seeing it. It might need a month to tick or so. That would be logical. Not sure if we have a month to tick though. We actually have another mission, Crush the Revolutionaries. Looks like this will be deciding what to do with the key issue in struggle is correctly identifying enemies and friends. One must exploit contradictions, win over the majority, and oppress the minority. Defeat them one by one, and gain internal support to achieve victory. Power distribution will now provide Republican tradition with bonuses reaching its maximum when its progress is at either end. And the revolutionary tendency moves towards the center at a normal rate of change. Well, alright then. Now the moment of truth. Are we going to win or die? Are we winning? How long? They'll arrive on July the 14th. Can we win this battle before they get there? No, it doesn't like it. That's not that surprising. We dealt some pretty big casualties to them, though. I mean, they dealt more to us, though, but you know how it goes. Should we merc up? We might be able to win if we do. I'm not feeling it, but I'd rather fight until the end than just accept a loss. I'm that sort of guy. If they siege the capital down now, it's probably over. If we get a chance, if we get a little bit more time, and we got a little bit more time, move our mercenaries into position, we might be able to win. Oh, and we've actually got a large enough army that we can complete this mission. Each level of our military advisors, Castali. It will change the Marshal Alexandra Military Academy by 2. This one? Yes. Reduces shock damage by 5%. That's pretty nice. Thing is, though, it only activates if our revolutionary tendency is at least 20, and it's currently not 20. Currently 4. So it's not even going to activate. If it did activate, it might actually be enough to defeat these cavalrymen, what with their shock damage and all that. Right, we've hired nearly every mercenary that exists, and we've almost matched them. We've almost matched the strength of the Usbekis. Well, here they come. We're probably just going to die. We haven't had time to really strengthen ourselves. We've had a month to gain... Oh, they're hesitating. They're hesitating. They're saying, I'm not feeling comfortable fighting you guys. And that is what I like to hear. What I don't like to hear is we're going to go bankrupt within a year. So we need to basically kill them. We need to kill them within this year. Let's wait a month for our morale to tick up a little more. Now we're kind of just going to have to go. Question is, go where? Go where? Maybe let's just attack them, bite the bullet, accept our place. Although looks like only one of our armies can reach them there. Some of our armies are actually just trapped. I guess our only real option is to just go for the capital itself and try and liberate it. I think that's what we're going to do. And then they'll occupy the land we took, and now if we go back, we'll attack them. We can't really afford to wait and try and siege down the capital. We got to just fight. Let's do it. We'll probably lose, but are we winning? We're fighting in a forest, so they're not getting their normal cavalry bonuses. I think we're winning. Unfortunately, we just went bankrupt. But we won the battle, and because we were fighting, the armies didn't despawn due to bankruptcy. Now, can we liberate our country before we kind of are forced to peace out? Nope, we can't. There we go. We died. We died. We did our best. If I'd played a little better, we definitely would have survived. All right, let's try again. Here we go. Attempt 2. Are we going to do anything different? I don't think so. I think we did it. Everything went really well, actually. I don't know if we'll end up with Odiev becoming our vassal again like it did this time. I think that's a chance thing, not a guaranteed thing. So we'll see how it goes. One thing I did notice is that further down the mission tree there was an event. There was a mission that removed all of the land that was controlled by these warriors. So I'm thinking instead of removing it manually and wasting admin, it might be better to wait. But at the same time, we don't really know. Maybe we need to remove the land now in order to gain access to the remove later. Let me look. Yeah, here we have nationalization reform. It only requires the peasants' law to be 60%, so I definitely think we could do it without needing to worry. So let's just proceed as normal. As established, we're going to lose the nobles' estate. We're going to try and take advantage of them, as you should take advantage of nobles. We're not going to lose the clerics or the burghers, though, so we need to be a little careful with them. I forgot to check what happened with the clerics after we merged them into our revolutionary system. Now I'll never know. Well, I mean, I'll know this time around. Some point, but I wanted to know then. I think I'm actually going to sell land to the estates, since we're going to get it back anyway. I just want to decrease the land maintenance modifier even further by applying the option. And then we're going to wait a little bit for that event that made it so cheaper for us to expand our armies. Off we go. There we go. We get the tense times event, which decreases the cost of raising armies. So now we're going to raise armies big time. It was around 20 enemies last time, so we'll probably want to have similar amount for us this time. There we go. Now we'll just hang out peacefully and wait for the disaster. Looks like Odiev got phalanx this time around, so we're not going to have them as a friend. That's too bad. It's always nice to have friends. Not that they stuck around for long. Here comes the second uprising, just as before. The arrow is notched. There's only 18 of the 1,000 pretenders this time, so it should be even easier. Looks like when the battle starts, our morale immediately goes to 0, though. I'm not sure why. Maybe that's intentional. Make it so the pretenders at least would siege down the city first of all. We've got our peasants and power elites, aka bureaucrats, estates also online, so we're going to hand out the privileges like we did last time. Peasant suffrage, guaranteed yeoman independence. That does lead to us losing a lot of crown power, but I'm not honestly that bothered. Crown power is made to be spent. Also grab peasant festivals and compulsory military training to make our armies a little better. And then for the elites, power elites. Maybe we won't hand out anything to the power elites. I'm just not feeling it. I hate all the modifiers they provide. They all cost me things. I don't like being costed. Maybe we'll just grab bureaucratic education privilege just because, you know, it doesn't really cost us anything. We need to give them something. We need to make them like us. Oh, and I will grab bureaucratic terms for life. That should be enough to bring them to a positive equilibrium. Now, here's a question. Should we loan up so we can get 240 or so gold, 50 gold, so that we can get that castle? I don't think so. Feels like a red herring. We're just going to grab the extra stability. We actually gained stability through an event, so we don't have to pay for it this time because we're already at the point. Just as before, we're going to switch to the representational authority instead of sitting with the military committee. We're also not going to execute all of the nobles just as before. We're going to immediately declare war on Chernigov for our claims. We can actually already do the bridging the divides mission because we've already got 2 stability. And we'll do as we did last time. I think we'll merge the clerics. We didn't really see what it did, but we're gonna try and follow as much as possible what we did last time. Whoa! In this time, Chernigov's actually winning the conflict. That might be good. It means we could take land from them, right? I mean, we're stronger than Chernigov. Our army's a lot stronger, a lot bigger. We're willing to be a little careful that they don't stack wipe our small little occupying stacks. But hypothetically, we could be the one to take a lot of land from them. We'll need to be a little careful of coalitions, though. Who's going to get angry? Kiev, Galicia, Ryazan, Minsk, Smolensk, Tver, and Zaporizhzhia. Not big players, I don't think. Alrighty, now we need to decide what we're going to take from Chernigov. I think we're going to avoid going all the way down here, expanding into that far. I'd rather just take, because, you know, I don't know how far we're supposed to go, and I don't want to risk going too far towards other borders with other countries that are not going to be friendly. So we're going to try and stay quite kind of localized and try and avoid a big coalition forming. We actually just got a core on Chernigov itself because it's of our religion. We got the accommodate non-believers, I think, event. So that's nice. Now we're not going to gain any real aggressive expansion because the main location that was going to cost us aggressive expansion is now already a core. Yippee! There we go. We're going to take as much money as we can from them and these main provinces. As I mentioned, we've already got a core on Chernigov because of that nice event. We want to get the Vernansk conference. And we'll grab expand the revolution, which gives us permanent claims and everything. So unfortunately, we didn't get claims on the piece of land we've already occupied, but we did get claims on all this stuff up here. We actually managed to ally with Novgorod. I'm keeping an eye on those Usbeks this time. I want to know when they come for us, if they come for us. The Uzbeks kind of seem like a very volatile nation. Sometimes they just fall apart. Sometimes they grow into a very big issue. Last time we got to experience what happened if they grow into a big issue. Then we're going to fight a quick and cheeky war with the Turov people. They don't have any allies and they're all on their own. So I think we'll just attack and try and kill them. We'll need to be a little careful with aggressive expansion. But I'm not that worried. I'm worried of the fact they got a very good general, though. Let's try and murder him before he causes trouble in the future. Should we go for the full annexation? I think so. Not really going to anger anyone of note that we don't intend to actually just conquer at some point. We are running out of manpower, though, so it might be a good idea for us to start to be a little cautious, dig in a little. So I think once we finish this war, we'll probably just sit back a little at home, let our manpower replenish, focus on coring the land and going down our mission tree without any wars necessarily. There we go. There goes Turov. They're out of here. I said it's not really going to anger anyone of note. We haven't already angered. It seems when we get our revolutionary tendency below 20, we gain access to a bunch of privileges for the bureaucrats, which are quite strong. I'm actually thinking of which ones we should grab. Problem is it decreases our revolutionary tendency even lower, so we need to be careful it doesn't get too low. I'm sure bad things will happen. One of the things we're going to grab, I think, is this: promote the blessings of hard work, which increases good production and production efficiency by 20%, which will be a very nice buff later on as time progresses. We're then going to grab voluntary overtime for even more production efficiency and goods growth production. Keep in mind, these are increasing revolt unrest, as well as decreasing our solidarity tendency gain, as well as, of course, our revolutionary tendency. I'm not going to grab any more, I don't think. We'll just grab those two and be done for the moment. That should be enough to actually give quite a boost to our economy, at least in the future, once production efficiency actually starts to matter more. Look at that, we've already got our production efficiency up to 75%. Isn't it beautiful? The Uzbeks have arrived on our border again, and I feel like we're not in a good position to deal with them. The Uzbeks have transformed into Tartarus, surely a time of the end times. Oh god, we got a letter from hell. By the strength of the eternal heaven, blessed by the power of the eternal God, mighty and noble, ruler of the people, numerous as the sea, thus spoke Usbek Khan, the lord of the final Tartars. Lofty lord chose us, bestowed favour upon us, granted our noble ancestors and forefathers their status, and destroyed those who resisted us. He has given unto us all land between sunrise and sunset. God has decreed that in heaven there is only one eternal God, and on earth there is only one ruler, Genghis Khan, Temujin, son of Tengri. If, according to Tengri's will, the world be from the lands of sunrise and sunset to enjoy peace and joy, then their desire is fulfilled. It is known to all that we are the army of God. God created us to product of his wrath and dispatched us upon the people who incurred his wrath. We know who you are. We know you are destroyers, doing evil deeds. Therefore, Tengri sent us to deal with you. If you, insignificant one, still wish to retain your land, wealth, and possessions, you must come before us in person, draw near, and submit to the Khan, who holds sway over the entire world. That is the command of the eternal God, not of mortal men. Therefore, we convey Tengri's commands to you, in writing, through your priests, messengers, and nobles. Our agreement with you is Tengri's will. If you hear and believe and wish to obey us, then send envoys to us, and we shall understand whether you desire war or peace with us. If you do not obey this decree, we know that not what will happen, God knows. This Sunni nation going on about Tengri, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. It does seem like they're advancing into Persia first. Should we try and rapidly expand to maybe survive their eventual attack? Or should we just keep peacefully integrating our land? We don't really have any manpower. In fact, let's roll out that manpower modifier for all of our provinces that are currently, all of our states. Actually tech up as well and get the next level of soldiers. Here comes the Tartarians, just as I thought. Although it looks like they have less cavalry this time round. Are they no longer a steppe horde? They're a Khanate, but not a steppe horde. They still have quite a bit of cavalry, but I'm mentally prepared for them. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to grab this reactionary privilege to the mercenaries. It increases the morale and discipline of our mercenaries by a fair amount. It weakens our normal existing armies. I don't know if I can actually revoke that once I've applied it. I guess we'll find out, right? Then we're going to add another privilege. We're going to add this privilege to our power elites. This mercenary companies, which decreases the maintenance cost, hiring cost of mercenaries, and also increases their discipline. Basically, what I'm saying is we're mucking up. Novgorod is our ally in the war and has joined and pulled in their own vassals, so that's nice. We have now hired every mercenary that we possibly can hire. How strong does that make us? About 42,000 men. I mean, I think numbers-wise, we're pretty equal. There's only 5,000 infantry, 9,000 cavalry on our side versus their 54,000 infantry and 39,000 cavalry. So they definitely outnumber us, but it's not as one-sided as it may have well been. If we can lure them into our forts and fight them there, I think there is potential. One of the things is, though, our allies, they're going to actually go up and fight them. That might actually be good. If we go and fight them in our allies' lands on the woodlands, will nullify any bonuses they get from being cavalry. Yep, there we go. We push them back from Novgorod, push on, and just try and push them all back. They've taken the chance to invade our country, which is kind of what I want. I know I'm roving around in a big stack right now, but I'm a little too scared to split up my armies. Speaking of which, we've got another reform online, government reform. We can choose between professional armies or conscripted armies. Conscripted armies decreases the cost of armies by regiment cost by 10%. Costs us 4 morale though. Professional armies on the other hand gives us 3 discipline, yearly army professionalism, army morale, army drill gain, regime drill loss, military cost advisors decrease cost. It does decrease solidarity and power inclination a bit though, but does give us some revolutionary tendency. We're going to go for professional army. We need any sort of buff we can get for our military. Ooh, it looks like we're going to lose this battle. Yep. They were pretty heavy casualties to them, but they just reinforced us. They just reinforced the battle as it was going on and managed to push us back. We need to be careful not to get too cocky. One of my greatest sins in literally every game I've ever played. Unfortunately, bankruptcy is looming. I'm not sure we're going to be able to win this one. Go until September of next year before we go bankrupt. We need to see if we can wipe some of their armies before that happens. I'm not sure we're going to be able to win this. They're making gains, apparently. I suppose they are. We've killed quite a lot of them, though. There's only 64,000 left. Even if they weren't making gains, they would still very much think they're winning. We're close to bankruptcy, about a month away. This might be it. We might just be dead. If we corruption up, pay off some loans. It only buys us until July. I think we might be winning. We've lost hundreds of thousands of men, though most of them were mercenaries. But we've killed nearly 100,000 of theirs. I'm just not sure. The war goal is to take our capital, and our capital, of course, is still under our control. They're not gaining ticking war score, instead we are. They're still very happy to continue the war. We're continuously running out of money. Our loans will last us another year before we go bankrupt. Damn, we went bankrupt. I guess that's it. We died again. The people, no, they got us again. I think next time we'll turn off the Uzbek mechanic.